Hey everybody, this is Dark Guardsman. We're back with another video really quick. So I know we just did the update video here, and on the stream the same day we actually got some decent progress on the particle accelerator, and I kind of wanted to show off what we have currently to give a little bit better emphasis on the differences between the design of the old version and kind of where we're going with this. So what you're seeing in front of you is what will be the particle accelerator. Right now there's no functional blocks right now. These are mainly just there. They do some functionality, like for example this magnet does actually have the code in it to be a magnet, and the accelerator tube does have the code to understand what shape it should be. Now there is still a lot of work that needs to be done, and we're going to be doing a lot more of that as we do stream probably later today, and of course next weekend and so on. But we've got this right here. So we've got the tubes, we've got the magnets, and we've got the shape going on here. So for the people familiar with the old atomic science, especially from the 1.6 version that was released way back in the day, I want to say 2013, but it might be 1.6.4 might be later than that. The mod's old, that's all you need to know. The old version kind of worked. You had basically a tube that went around. The only difference between it is instead of constructing it this way, how you would have actually constructed it, you could either have went with kind of a shape like this, and you would have built a hollow section in the middle, and this would have been your thing, and you would have all the way around in the same shape of the tube, but it would have been completely solid, so you would have actually filled in and kept filling in. Although you didn't actually need the corner parts on this, so you could have actually got away with a lot less material, but it was kind of meh. It looked okay, it got the purpose done, and it made an accelerator that was interesting and did function. For the new version, we're going with a much more... I want to say complicated, but it's not complicated. It's not simplistic either. It's a more realistic take on the ideal, because it's still obviously going to be simplified. It's still obviously going to have some complex components, but at the same time it's going to be Minecraft themed, so there's going to be stuff that isn't going to quite fit with real life. For example, a real particle accelerator usually is some circular or elliptical shape to make things kind of work really well, because this will be your booster ring, and this would be your basically gun accelerator, although these need to be reset. One of the things with testing is some stuff actually does get reset on you, but we're all doing this for visual anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Anyways, the tubes do place based on the direction you are facing. I will be adding options to invert this because this is kind of annoying. It does work this way. These are also not the final textures. These will probably be using models that are transparent so you can see through them. Same thing for the magnets. They'll probably be using a higher detail model and texture to make it kind of look better. These are the original magnets from the old mod. But yeah, this section right here would be your gun accelerator. So this would, in here would probably be a laser that would accelerate whatever you were firing really quickly into this, and you would have a linear accelerator, which is what this section is, to boost it really quickly. Then it would go in the booster section, which is facing the wrong direction, by the way. It doesn't matter too much, it'll still turn. The logic is going to be programmed that way. But it would go in here, and it would boost, it would go around, it would keep going around several times. And then there'll be a controller at some point that would decide, you know what, we're going to release it out of the ring into what's going to be the collision chamber. Now, technically, there doesn't need to be a collision chamber, is what I'm probably going to build this as, but we're going to have a collision chamber just to make things simplistic, so you have a dedicated spot where you know you want to have stuff collide, explode, and do all the fancy stuff, and then there'll be probably a collection system that'll come off this, that then you can kind of directionalize where you want the antimatter or whatever else you're making, because we'll probably use this as a dynamic crafting system, so there'll be a range of things you can craft in here, not just antimatter. Probably do strange matter, red matter, tons of exotic particles, tons of exotic matter forms, tons of just weird stuff, because we'll probably let it be used for all kinds of really cool things. But yeah, so booster rings. The ideal how we're going to do this is going to be flexible in design. So what you end up doing is you end up building a ring, kind of like this. It doesn't really matter how you build the ring, so we're going to probably allow a multitude of rings, so a design like this may be legitimate, because how it's going to work is this is going to detect for the magnets on the side. It's going to count up how many magnets, and that's going to be added to a certain score based on the size, dimension, whatever, that then determines how much energy that this little tube here will boost the particles it goes through. So you may be able to build a design like this, you may be able to stack it up, make it a little bit bigger. Of course, we're going to be using connected textures for these once I actually get some connected textures going, so you'll be able to do a wide range of things. But you'll be able to do that, get that set up. You'll be able to put whatever distance you want to be between these, although I will be making it so that a distance of 1 is minimum. So if you try to stack like this, it'll just ignore it. There won't be any use for that. you won't get a gain in boost speed. So there'll be some kind of timer delay that the particle has to travel at least 1 meter before a boost effect is applied again, to some extent, or something like that. There will also be a max distance. The max distance won't really be an enforced max distance. It'll just simply be if you don't put enough boosters, your particle won't gain speed, and when it hits the corner here, it'll lose too much energy, and then the particle will die. It'll fizzle out. So there'll be something like that. I'll be posting the mathematics once we get this going, and of course people who are watching the stream can pick up on it and get the mathematics ahead of time. But we're doing that, so you'll boost, it'll go around, and we'll do basically a variety of different things to get it to function. On top of that, what I also kind of want to allow this to do, so say for example you don't want to have a circular shape like this, you can do a linear accelerator. I'll allow you guys to do a linear accelerator. You'll just have to figure out the mathematics to get your particle up to the correct speed, because the only thing that is going to matter is that the particle is at a certain speed or at a certain energy, so we'll probably do it energy based. So if you're throwing a heavier particle through the system, and you can get that up to a slower speed, but the energy with the mass, whatever, I think it's mass times acceleration equals force. I'll figure it out later. But you'll be able to do that, do linear accelerators. You'll also be able to do, if you really, really want to, although I don't probably recommend it, be able to do like zigzags. So say if you want to make a really beautiful base and have maybe a particle accelerator go across a walk path so you can watch the particles travel underneath, you could do that, and you could do whatever. The whole idea of how this is going to work is what we'll end up doing is that when you want to define a direction the particle should go in, you'll put, of course, the magnets around it, and then you'll convert this to a directional based pipe or rail system, which will then say, hey, I want to boost the particle in this direction. The reason for that is the reason why we're going to end up doing the directional based system is that theoretically what you could do is have multiple gun accelerators or multiple even accelerators feed into the same system and be passing tons and tons of particles into a system, boosting all of it on the same system. So we'll allow that to happen. That'll be handled, of course, by a controller. So what will happen is you'll build a ring, you'll attach that ring to a controller, you'll attach your linear accelerator to a controller, and say, okay, this controller is now responsible for all the logic on here, and then when a particle passes into it, the controller then takes over control of the particle, and then you can have, I would say, up to half as many pipes as you can have particles. So if you have like 100 pipes, you can have 50 particles in the system, because obviously you're going to want a gap between them. You don't want to have everything stacking on top of each other. Wide probably handling for that. There probably won't be a consequence if two particles enter the same tube at the same time. What we'll probably do is just do some little bit of mathematics visually to make it so the particles don't overlap each other, but we'll figure that part out later. But that's kind of what I show off, is just kind of show off the digital design we got, the progress we got so far, and kind of where we're going with that. So I'll see you guys later, and with more videos and streams and everything else.